not sure who they can see, but yeah. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can see, the setup is a little bit different and I have a special friend with me here. I have my dog, well, one of my dogs, Arizona. Her birthday is actually Friday, February 28th, and I think you guys are either going to be getting this video on her birthday or the day after, and I figured why not have her film with me today because it's more of a talk/tips video, and I wanted to kind of switch up the setup to see what you guys think and how you guys feel about having a furry friend with me and some of my videos. So yeah, we're gonna give it a try. If you would like to hear about how I went from reading 1 or 2 books a year to reading 24 books last year, keep on watching. Okay, so I don't actually know if I'm gonna film the entire video like this because I can't get the lighting the way I want it to. It's actually really shadowy, and Arizona also does not like how close the lights are to her, so we might scrap this, but we're gonna try. So today I really wanted to talk about how I went from reading maybe 1 or 2 books a year to reading 24 books last year, as I said in my intro. I'm a very slow and picky reader, and there were a couple of tips and tricks that helped me last year really dedicate myself to reading a lot more and just really enjoying reading more. And I wanted to share them with you guys today. So I actually have them written down in my little book, and we're gonna go through them. Does that sound good? Are you gonna block me from the camera? Yeah, okay. Cool, let's start. So as per usual, I'm gonna start this video off how I start every single video. You are gonna hear my Great Dane crying upstairs or making some sort of noise, and I promise you she's not dying, she's not hurt, she's fine. She's just dramatic, and that is how she will probably be until the day she dies, which is fine with me because I love her anyways. So yeah, let's get started with these tips. So the first thing that I had written down, and I have them all in my little journal here because I didn't want to miss anything, but the first thing that I have written down is that you have to mentally be prepared and really want to actually dedicate yourself to reading more books. And whatever more books for you means, it's going to mean something differently for someone else. Now, I read 24 books last year, and that's something that I am very proud of. And obviously there are booktubers on here that can read hundreds of books in a year, and I'm sure that's something that they're very proud of. But what I think is super important is to remember to not compare how many books you read to somebody else, or the type of reader that you are to someone else, and just focus on what your strengths are and playing to your strengths so you set yourself up to succeed as best as possible. And that starts with mentally being prepared to actually dedicate time to reading. My second tip was audiobooks, and I will probably put a little video of the subscription that I use somewhere in here, but the subscription service that I use for my audiobooks is Audible. And funny enough, I hadn't listened to an audiobook at all. The first time I had ever listened to an audiobook was actually last year, and that stems back to me, 1, being very picky with books, and 2, being even pickier with who reads my books. So I think that the trick for that, if you're somebody who's picky with audiobooks, is to find I know I'm talking really close to you and really loudly, is to find a narrator that you really like, and to kind of binge listen to the books that they narrate. That's what I did with Elizabeth Acevedo, and I absolutely loved it. And also finding stories that obviously you're very interested in. But audiobooks can be super helpful for very busy people because you can be listening to them while you're on your commute to work. Depending on what your job is, sometimes you can listen to your audiobooks at work, you can listen to them while doing chores, blah blah. Like, audiobooks are just really helpful. So if you haven't given those a try, I would highly suggest giving it a try, and a great service to start with is Audible. This video is not sponsored. My third tip is to be very picky with what you read. And if you're not liking something, put it down and don't feel guilty about it, because there's so many amazing books out there. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me personally to waste time on a book that you're not enjoying when you could easily go out there and find one that you probably would enjoy way more. That being said, my fourth tip is to explore different genres. I am very much stuck in what I like to read. I am a huge contemporary fan, and I found that last year, when I kind of ventured out of contemporary, is when I really started enjoying reading again and really started enjoying it more. Not to say that I don't still love contemporary, but really exploring other genres and finding those hidden gems is really a nice way to kind of spark your reading interest and motivate you to read more. My fifth tip is to watch book recommendation videos from booktubers that you don't normally watch. So for example, My favorite booktuber on here is Haley in Bookland. We have very similar reading tastes, and a lot of my standard books that I get are from her book recommendation videos. Mind you, another booktuber that I frequently watch is Naya Reads and Smiles, and we have completely different reading tastes, but I also find that there will be times where she will recommend a hidden gem that I actually really like, and I would have never picked up if it wasn't for me watching her video. So definitely explore other booktubers and see what they're reading and look into their recommendations, and you might find something that, again, sparks your interest and motivates you to read more. My next tip is when you're stuck, oh, hi, you want to lie down now? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, you can lie down, that's fine. When you're in a little bit of a reading slump or you're stuck, read something short. This is what really helped me get through last year. You're blocking me, Hen. Hey, can you lie down? Can you lie down on me? Lie down? Down. Lie down. Can you lie down? Lie down. Yeah, that's okay. Lie down. There you go. Good girl. Sorry, my other tip was when you're stuck or in a little bit of a reading slump, you can read something that is super short. So this is something that really helped me last year. And when I was in a reading slump, my go-to would to be either read something really short or a poetry book that I could read in about an hour and a half. And because, sorry, I need to readjust because she's now lying on me. Because I found that those slumps, what you're really looking to do is motivate yourself to pick up a book and finish a book. And no matter how long the book is, you feel accomplished when you finish a book and you kind of get to either check it off your Goodreads list or whatever you're keeping track of it on. It feels good to have accomplished that. So reading a shorter book can help motivate you to then go pick up something a little bit longer, and I think that those are great ways to help you get out of slumps. And then my next tip is to actually read more than one book at a time. I'm very much you're shedding so much. Oh my gosh, there's gonna be hair everywhere. I'm very much a mood reader. I can be all gung-ho and start a fantasy, and then 2 days later, I'm gonna be like, nah, I want a contemporary. And that's not to say that the fantasy isn't good, it's just my mood has changed. So what I tend to do is I will be listening to an audiobook that is of one genre and physically reading a book of a different genre. So depending on what mood I'm in that day, I usually have a book that can kind of fill the need that I need it to fill. And that way you also don't feel like you're just kind of committed to one, again, commitment issues. Reading more than one book at one time lets you not feel like you are just strapped down and committed to one book and like you can't move unless you finish that book. What was my next one? Find. My next tip is to find out what type of reader you are. And by that, so for me, I am very picky with my books. I also tend to either binge read books or be very slow with reading, and I prefer to read when it's quiet. Mind you, I can read in pretty much any setting, but I prefer to read when it's quiet, and I prefer to be on my couch reading either this one or the one that I have upstairs. That is my my reading status, if you will. And I encourage anybody who's wanting to read more to actually sit down and write down just like your ideals for what would help you read more. So I guess in a way you see in a lot of videos people say in order to read more, they'll like get up an hour earlier and just dedicate that 1 hour in the morning to reading. Well, that's great if you're a morning person. I am not a morning person, so I can't do that. If my day is supposed to start at 7 and I get up at 6 to read, it's not going to happen. Like it will not happen. So this is why I say learn the type of reader you are, and that way you can kind of twist and mold tips that will fit for you, that will help improve how much you're able to read in a certain amount of time. My next one is to read with a buddy or find some way to make yourself accountable for your reading. So I use BookTube as, one of the reasons that I have a BookTube channel is to kind of hold myself more accountable for my reading. It's a way to keep track of what I'm reading and share what I'm reading with you guys, and just kind of see your guys' thoughts on books and stuff like that. So it has a little bit of an accountability aspect to it. Another good way to do this is to read, do like reading groups with your friends, or join reading groups on Goodreads, stuff like that. So that way, you know, it's a little bit more fun. You get a little bit more interaction while you're reading, and you feel like, okay, if you set a deadline to finish a book, you're going to finish the book by that deadline, so that way you can then discuss with whoever else is reading the book. My next tip is to keep it fun. Enjoy it. If you're not having fun, don't do it. There's like, it's really easy to say, oh, I want to read more, and then actually applying it is not that easy. So if you're not somebody who enjoys reading, then just don't do it. Obviously, if you're in school or you have to do it for a job, then do it. But there's no rule out there that says that you have to be that person that reads 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 100 books a year. Like, that's not for everybody. You are just as entitled to sit down and binge watch Netflix if that's what you enjoy doing. Like, this is something that should be for fun. Obviously, if you like to read, then that's great. If you're somebody that's really not feeling it, then find something that you are feeling and that you want to do. Like, this, it shouldn't feel like a chore. And my last tip is to set a reading goal. So I use Goodreads for this. Last year I had set my goal at 12 books. I reached that goal at less than halfway through the year, and then I went up to 24, and I was able to reach that goal in December. So this year I started with my goal being 24 books, and that's also something that's another kind of like sub tip of that, is to set your goals small, so that way when you reach it, one, you feel accomplished, and two, you feel motivated to set another goal. So I set my goal for 24 books this year because that's something that I know that I can do because I did it last year. So I'm hoping to be able to meet that goal. Whether I meet it halfway through the year or at the end of the year, doesn't really matter to me. I just want to be able to meet that goal. So I feel like setting goals like that is really important and will help to motivate you read more. If you don't want to set a huge overall goal, there's like mini goals that you can do. So I also have in my bullet journal that I want to read X amount of poetry books, X amount of fantasy, X amount of contemporary, which is something that I can also go over with you guys in another video. But just setting some form of goal, so that way you feel like when you reach those goals, it's just a way to motivate yourself and to keep you excited about reading and wanting to read. So those are my main tips for, hi, you did great. Those are my main tips for how you can possibly maybe read more this year. If you found any of them helpful, let me know down below. If there's any other tips that you guys have, also let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know if there's any other videos that you would like to see, and if there's any other furry friends that you would like to see in the video. She did great. It was really fun having her. She's probably the easiest dog that I have to film with, but I'm gonna start rambling about her, so before I do that, I'm gonna end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!